Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a little bit of technical analysis on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets because some very interesting things have happened to Bitcoin and a couple of other cryptocurrencies here in the last 24 hours or so. As you can see on our chart, Bitcoin was trading sideways rather healthily, and then all of a sudden decided to go and jump off the metaphorical cliff, as Bitcoin has been so fond of doing over the last couple of months. But immediately after, Bitcoin had a major correction and had a massive bounce, bouncing all the way up here to $6,550. The bulls said, hell no, we're not going to go down there. We're not going to break important levels of support. We're going to go back up north. And actually, we're now currently trading even higher than we were 24 hours ago, despite seeing this massive red candlestick come in. It seems that the bears got a little overexcited. They got a little overzealous, and it came back to bite them in the butt because now Bitcoin is trading quite a bit higher than it was just 24 hours ago. And this also plays into some interesting technicals on the Bitcoin chart because, as we can see, we're actually looking at some Bitcoin RSI divergence. That, coupled with the major correction that the bulls have managed to pull off, and the fact that Bitcoin has been gradually trending upwards for the last 3 days, definitely looks bullish and definitely brings some very important implications to the Bitcoin market here over the next couple of days and into the next week or so that we're going to be discussing in today's video. We're also going to be talking about XRP because XRP has had another one of those big rallies. We saw a big one come in here on the 18th following some news about XRapid, and now we can assume that we've seen some similar price action for a similar reason because there's a lot of speculation around XRapid. There's a lot of good news coming in. There's a lot of bullish news coming in for Ripple, and we're going to be discussing all of that and more in today's video, including this nice little run-up that Ripple and XRP, or I should say, has seen in the last about 8 hours or so. But anyway, guys, as always, before we get into today's video, if you enjoyed today's video, definitely consider dropping a like, hitting that subscribe button, and smashing the notification bell, guys. It does help out the channel if you do it, and I would be appreciative if you did it. But without much further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Bitcoin is currently trading just a tad over $6,400, around $6,407, depending on what exchange you're looking at, of course. CoinMarketCap is currently listing at around $6,430 with a daily volume of just over $4.2 billion. Definitely nothing to write home about here. That is pretty bog standard. Bitcoin is up about 1.3% over the last 24 hours in a very interesting manner, I might add, like we're going to be discussing here in a second. Ethereum is trading over $200 again. We discussed a couple videos ago how important it is for Ethereum to get back up above $200 and indeed stay above $200, and for the time being anyway, it does look like it's able to hold that, which is definitely a good sign for Ethereum and indeed for the rest of the altcoin market as well. Another good sign for the rest of the altcoin market is how well XRP has been faring here over the last couple of days. As you can see on its 7-day price graph here, and in the fact that it's up 13.5% over the last 24 hours, XRP has had a pretty good last couple of days with a daily volume hovering around $600 million. Its daily volume is definitely probably going to increase if the news that is driving a lot of this speculation actually comes to fruition. But like I said, we'll be discussing all of that and more in just a little bit. If we sort by change over the last 24 hours here, what we're going to see is about 6 altcoins are in the double-digit green right here. We can see Electroneum is leading the charge with 35% green day right here. Electroneum is definitely having a very, very good day. Not a whole lot of volume. It's one of these low-cap altcoins that doesn't have a lot of liquidity, so it's much easier for them to move this far. But a lot of people are definitely big fans of Electroneum, and not necessarily with bad reason. There's actually some conversation going on in the Discord server earlier on in the BitMEX station chat. If you guys are interested in joining that conversation, it's over now, but maybe you can go talk to some people about Electroneum there. If you're interested, the link to join the Discord server is in the description down below. But as we zoom down here on the altcoin markets, what we're going to see is the altcoin markets are generally very green today. We do see maybe 15, 20 losers, but we don't see any double-digit losers. We see Elastos down here about 5% below. About 5% in the red, but overall the altcoin market is doing pretty well today. One more thing that we want to touch on before we get onto the Bitcoin TA is the actual total market capitalization charts. We do see total market capitalization is back up above $200 billion, and a lot of that is actually to do with this small move that Bitcoin has seen and also the major move that XRP has seen. So definitely shout out to XRP for helping us get back up above this level, because we definitely want to see Bitcoin get back up above $200 billion, because for a little while here, let's go to the 7-day price graphs, or to the 7-day total market capitalization graphs, we saw Bitcoin kind of trading around this $200 billion region, looking like it was just taunting it, looking like it was maybe going to get resistance, if you want to call it that, at $200 billion. But now we're back up above it, and that's definitely a bullish sign. Although, like I say, when we're talking about total market capitalization, it's not exactly the be-all and end-all of technical analysis. It's just one good sign among many at the moment. Anyway, let's go ahead and discuss what's gone on here in the last 24 to 36 hours or so for Bitcoin. We should zoom out and get a little bit of perspective. So, of course, what we saw Bitcoin do, it jumped off the cliff, got in a consolidation pattern, broke out, resistance at $6,600, broke bearish out of this consolidation pattern, and had a major fall down here to around $6,200, which definitely concerned me. I talked about in a video, which you can watch in the top right, why that was so concerning to me. But luckily, we actually have started moving up a little bit stronger than I thought we were. I was worried that something like this was going to happen, except we weren't going to hold this uptrend of support right here. Luckily, we have, and in a very, very strong way we have, because like I said, the bears got a little overzealous here. They got a little too eager, and we definitely were not ready to go down that fast. Looks like the birds are going to chime in. Sorry about that. Anyway, Bitcoin has been trending up here for the last couple of days, and that's definitely a good sign. We saw Bitcoin kind of in this little consolidation pattern that's a little more visible if we go into the 15-minute chart. We had an uptrend right about here, and we had a flat top, basically a flat top right about here, and Bitcoin did break bearish out of it. That was definitely not a good sign, and then we tried to come up. Fell all the way down, but very, very quickly the bulls regained control, and within half an hour we'd moved about $400 north. Definitely a good sign. And over the last 24 hours or so, actually over the last about 16 hours or so, Bitcoin hasn't really been doing a whole lot. But this is important price action, because if we come out to the hourly chart, like I mentioned in the intro, there's RSI divergence here on the hourly chart. And one thing you got to realize is that the hourly chart is very important for the Bitcoin market. I would say the hourly chart and the daily chart, and to a lesser extent the 4-hour chart, are some of the most important time intervals for Bitcoin technical analysis, simply because most people use them. And I'm definitely of the philosophy that the more people that use a certain kind of technical analysis, the stronger it is, because you get this kind of market confirmation bias where when everybody thinks something is going to happen and they're making their trades based on that, normally you can see that the market is going to respond to what they think is going to happen and not going to respond to something that they don't think is going to happen. Now, whether it responds in the way they think it will happen or whether it responds in the way they don't think it'll happen, that's an argument of contrarianism. But my point is normally whatever people are focusing on in the market is probably where the actual price action is going to happen. And that ties back into why the hourly chart is so important, is because especially on the short term, especially on the kind of technical analysis we do here on the channel of the daily technical analysis, it's one of the most used indicators. It's one of the most used time intervals. And that's why this hourly RSI divergence is very important, because as we can see here, we have a higher low here on the RSI and a lower low back over here. We have a higher low following a lower low on the RSI, but on the price action chart, we have a lower low following a higher low, which is RSI divergence, and which is very bullish, especially considering we've been trending up here over the last couple of days. One thing I do want to point out, though, is that this is corrupted, and I do want to make this very clear, is that this RSI divergence, I'm not going to put as much strength on as I may on more traditional organic RSI divergence, because this RSI divergence is kind of formed by this massive little dump. And if this had happened within 1 hourly candlestick, then we probably wouldn't have even seen the RSI come down here, because all of this would have been encapsulated inside one wick. So you do have to remember that this is kind of an outlier. This RSI divergence isn't necessarily as strong as other RSI divergence, just because it's based almost purely off of an anomaly right here. So keep that in mind. It is a bullish sign, but don't put as much weight on it as you may with a more organic RSI divergence, like we've discussed before on the channel. We saw some on the 4-hourly before. We saw some on the daily chart before. That kind of stuff was more organic. This is kind of based on an anomaly, but like I said, definitely something to keep an eye out for. One thing also, like I want to go ahead and restate this because this is important. Bitcoin is trending up here over the last couple of days. That does play into the RSI divergence. Those are all bullish signs. The next place I'm looking for Bitcoin to go is back up here to $6,600. And before that, even $6,500. If we can get through those two levels, that's going to be very bullish for Bitcoin, because that lines up with our 20 daily exponential moving average. If we come here and turn that on, it's hovering down here around this level, right up here at almost exactly $6,500 right now. I want to see Bitcoin get back up above that. We've tested resistance on it back over here. It is curving down. By the day, it's getting easier to break it because it's moving lower, and I think it's going to be possible that we break it, but I do want to see us break this. This is very important. Another thing that we want to see is another bullish MACD cross, and it looks like that is definitely going to happen at this point. It looks like just about no matter what Bitcoin does, we're probably going to see a bullish MACD cross. A lot of things are lining up to say that the next couple of days into the next week or so may be bullish for Bitcoin. Does that mean that we're seeing a major reversal and that we've already set a permanent bottom down here, or at least a temporary bottom, I should say, down around $6,000? Not necessarily, but I do think the next couple of days into the next week or so is going to be bullish, especially if we can get above this 20 daily exponential moving average. Anyway, like I said, there wasn't a whole lot to talk about with Bitcoin today, so I want to go ahead and get into XRP. If we come to the XRP chart, and we are going to look at XRP over US dollar and Bitcoin, because those are two very important charts. we see an interesting thing. Of course, what we saw in the last couple of days is XRP came up here and had a major rally, and we saw it flag out, and it broke bullish out of it, but then very quickly fell back below where it broke bullish and traded sideways here for a couple of days. And then in the last 6 hours or so, about 6 hours ago from when I'm recording this actually, XRP had another major breakout. And a lot of this is driven on hype, and a lot of this is driven on speculation, and a lot of it, to be totally honest, is driven on bulls who are tired of the bears and get very excited at any kind of price movement. I'm not bashing anyone. Of course, it is very nice to see this kind of price movement, but you have to keep that in mind when you're doing your technical analysis. A lot of this is hype driven, and we've seen what hype driven markets can do to your portfolio, namely in the run-up at the end of 2017. So be very careful about this kind of movement, because a lot of this isn't necessarily based on fundamentals just yet. We're going to discuss the fundamentals that we can assume have led to this in just a second. A lot of this isn't based necessarily on fundamentals. A lot of this is based on hype, and a lot of this is based on that kind of sentiment in the market. It's not necessarily based on something really fundamental happening to XRP, at least not yet. Like I said, we're going to discuss the news surrounding this in just a second. What we saw, like I said, is that XRP broke out, had the flag, traded sideways, and now we've broken out again. Definitely a good day for XRP. Definitely a good sign for XRP, and definitely a good sign for the altcoin market in general, because a lot of the altcoins, including XRP, have been getting absolutely eviscerated for the last several months. 2018 has not been very kind to XRP. As you can see, it's definitely not been a very good year if you were a bag holder, especially if you were one of the sad people that bought up here at like $3. I had family members telling me to buy XRP at $3. You had mainstream media news sources saying, oh, well, XRP is over $2 now. Great time to buy. You want to be careful with that, because if you're looking for a long-term buy, a time like now is a really good time to buy, not when XRP is worth 10 times as much and has a lower fundamental value. So keep that in mind when you're doing your long-term investing. But my point in that is that it isn't very nice to see a good bullish strong move coming out of at least one of the altcoins, especially the number 3 altcoin, because XRP being such a big altcoin has a lot of weight to it, and a lot of altcoins are going to follow XRP in a similar way a lot of altcoins follow Ethereum. It's very good to see this, and like I mentioned in a previous video, which you can watch in the top right, this is also another good thing because it confirms this double bottom down here that XRP is set at almost exactly a quarter. We can see right down here, that's not what I meant to do, we can see right down here, XRP set a pretty substantial double bottom right down here. We've seen XRP set double bottoms, triple bottoms, even actually you could argue a quadruple bottom down here before. It didn't hold. I think this one is more likely to hold because I think a lot of the bears' steam has run out, and I think the bears are getting close to their capitulation phase, and I think the accumulation phase is going to start and is actually starting right now, again, so long as Bitcoin doesn't go below $6,000, and I think that's a very good thing for XRP because it looks like XRP may have set a permanent bottom down here at 25 cents. Whether that's going to happen or not, time will tell, but like I said, we do have our double bottom, and we do have this kind of W formation forming right here. Where do I think XRP is going to go over the next couple of days? What I think is likely going to happen is that it's probably going to trade sideways at best, and we may correct at worst. I don't see XRP having another like a third stair step up here where it just goes up to maybe 40 cents or so. It's very possible, especially if this XRapid news is actually confirmed, which we're going to discuss in a little while. If that is confirmed and when that news does actually break, then that will be very bullish for XRP. But for the time being anyway, for the next couple of days, I'd be very, very careful with XRP because XRP is kind of overextended right now. It's moved a lot in the last couple of days for not really a great fundamental reason just yet. Like I said, just yet. That fundamental reason is coming, but right now it's based on hype. Be very careful with this market. With that said, let's go ahead and get into the actual news, which we can assume has caused this price movement. This article is from a couple of days ago, but I believe that the price movement that we've seen today is also in relation to this news that we saw. Ripple could launch XRapid solution in the next month or so, says exec. And that's a big deal because if you guys haven't been following XRP, the coin and also or the cryptocurrency, whatever you want to call it, I know there's some controversy around what you call XRP. But if you haven't been following XRP and Ripple, I'm going to go ahead and be very brief on what XRapid is. Essentially, XRapid is a solution that Ripple is providing to banks to drastically improve the speed and the cost of cross-border payments because it takes a very, very long time and it's extremely expensive for you to send money from one country to another country, especially if those two countries use two different currencies because of the way the banks work. Like I said, I'm not going to get too much into it, but the point is Ripple, excuse me, has a lot of really good solutions to this. And of course, they have their own problems. They have their own qualms. It's not perfect, but at the end of the day, it does work a lot better than the way the banks currently do their business. And the idea of XRapid launching is definitely the thing that's getting the XRP community very, very, very excited. So let's go ahead and read into this article. Ripple could be launching a commercial version of its payment platform XRapid in the next month or so, CNBC reports September 17th. And that kind of lines up with this original pump, although this pump came a little bit after that, which is why some people haven't necessarily attributed these pumps to this. And that's why I'm not necessarily attributing these pumps to this news. But this is big news. The XRP product is a real-time settlement platform designed to speed up international payments, built for commercial use and backed by XRP tokens. XRP addresses the issue of minimizing liquidity costs and making cross-border payment transactions faster. With XRP and Ripple, and XRapid, you would be able to send a cross-border payment in as little as like 5 seconds, which may take days when you're using the traditional banking system simply because of the way it is structured. XRapid claims to significantly reduce the capital requirements for liquidity. Another big problem with international bank transfers. Sarbhai said in an interview with CNBC, I apologize for butchering that name. I'm not very good with those kinds of names. I'm very confident that within the next 1 month, you'll see some good news coming in where we launch the product live in production, which is definitely a big deal, guys. Product launches are a very big deal in the cryptocurrency space. We see this kind of hype coming around the ETF. That's another big product that's been very prominent in the cryptocurrency space, and every time any news comes out about it, it is a very big deal for the space. The same thing should have happened. It didn't happen, but it should have happened, and I promise you it will happen when Bakkt actually properly launches. We're going to see a lot of price action coming out of Bakkt actually launching. We didn't see a lot of news coming out of his announcement, but that's because the cryptocurrency was plagued by a couple of other news stories at the time. But normally when you see these kind of news stories, it's very, very good for the market, but you have to realize it hasn't launched yet. And since it hasn't launched yet, and since it hasn't gone live in the way that they're saying it is going to go live, since it hasn't actually come to fruition in the way they're saying it's going to come to fruition, because it hasn't actually done that yet, we don't have a guarantee. So keep that in mind. Things can be delayed, things can be pushed off, and at the end of the day, the price action that we're seeing here in XRP is currently built off of hype and speculation and hope that this does actually happen, and I'm sure it will happen. Ripple has a decent name for this kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, you have to realize we haven't seen any proof that this is going to come. This is just a bit of speculation. Anyway, Sarbhai also noted that regulators' approach on cryptocurrencies has been significantly changing from the narrative of blockchain good, crypto bad, to taking a more tempered approach towards digital currencies and seeking the benefits of crypto, which is definitely true. We've seen a big shift in the regulatory landscape and a lot of the regulatory sentiment surrounding Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, especially in the last couple of years, especially in the last year, especially in 2018, after the blow off top in 2017 ended. A lot of things in the regulatory landscape have been changing. He's definitely got a good point here. In August, Ripple partnered with 3 cryptocurrency exchanges, US-based Bittrex, Mexican Bitso, and Philippine Coins.ph, as part of an XRapid solution to build a healthy ecosystem of digital asset exchanges. The new partnership will allow XRapid to move between XRP, US dollars, Mexican pesos, and Philippine pesos. Anyway, guys, we're actually going to wrap it up here. You guys can come and read this article the last little bit, or you can pause the video. I think I've made my point very, very clear here. Be very, very careful with XRP right now because it is in a very precarious situation. But anyway, guys, tell me in the comment section down below what you think. Are you interested in getting into XRP right now? Are you going to short XRP? Where do you think Bitcoin is going over the next couple of days? Because Bitcoin is definitely looking like it's getting a little bit more bullish than it was just 3 days ago. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. I do want to thank each and every single one of you for watching as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.